I stared at the iced tea dripping down my silk blouse, watching the amber liquid seep into the fabric like a growing bloodstain. The silence in the dining room was absolute, broken only by the soft plink of ice cubes hitting the hardwood floor. My name is Ruby, and this was the moment my mother-in-law decided to destroy my marriage. Oh dear, Linda said, her voice dripping with false concern. My hand must have slipped. She placed the empty pitcher on the table with deliberate care, her manicured fingers lingering on the crystal handle. I could feel every eye in the room on me. Jake's bewildered stare, Melanie's poorly concealed smirk, even little Emily's wide-eyed shock from her booster seat. The Sunday roast lay forgotten, steam still rising from the perfectly arranged plates. Let me help you clean up. Jake started to rise, but Linda's hand shot out, gripping his wrist. Actually, before anyone moves, I have something that needs addressing. She reached into her designer handbag, pulling out a thick manila envelope. These arrived yesterday, and I think now is the perfect time to discuss them. My stomach clenched as she slid the envelope across the table, leaving it just out of reach of the spreading tea puddle. I didn't need to open it to know what it contained. The familiar legal letterhead was visible through the paper. Divorce papers, Linda announced to the room, as if introducing the next course. Already filled out. All Jake needs to do is sign. I turned to my husband, searching his face for any sign of surprise, any hint that this was as much of an ambush for him as it was for me. But Jake wouldn't meet my eyes, suddenly fascinated by his untouched mashed potatoes. You knew about this? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Ruby, honey, Linda cut in before Jake could respond. Let's not make this more dramatic than it needs to be. We all know this marriage isn't working. Jake needs someone who understands family values, someone who can support his dreams instead of. She gestured vaguely at my tea-soaked appearance. Whatever this is. Melanie snorted into her wine glass. At least you didn't ruin one of your good outfits, Rubes. This one was clearly from the clearance rack. I stood up slowly, feeling the cold liquid running down my spine. Jake, I said quietly. Look at me. He raised his head finally, and what I saw in his eyes told me everything. This wasn't a sudden decision. This wasn't even his mother's idea. Not entirely. This was premeditated, calculated, and I'd been too blind to see it coming. 8 years, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. 8 years of marriage, and you let your mother dump iced tea on me before serving divorce papers. It's not like that, he started, but I was already moving. I picked up my own glass of wine, a full-bodied red that Linda had been saving for a special occasion, and walked around the table with measured steps. Linda's smug expression faltered slightly as I approached. You're right about one thing, I said, standing over her. This marriage isn't working. I tipped the glass, watching the red wine cascade over her perfectly coiffed hair, down her expensive white blouse. But you're wrong about who needs to understand family values. Emily giggled from her seat, quickly stifled by Melanie's sharp shush. I turned on my heel and walked toward the door, pausing only to grab my car keys from the entry table. Behind me, I could hear Linda's outraged sputtering and Jake's weak attempts to calm her down. Ruby, wait, Jake called after me. I didn't wait. I didn't look back. But I made a promise to myself as I stepped into the evening air. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The hotel room keycard trembled in my hand as memories of our first date flooded back. Jake had worn that ridiculous blue tie with cartoon ducks on it, claiming it was his lucky charm. I'd found it endearing then, his nervous energy, his grand dreams of starting his own business empire. Now, 8 years later, that same tie hung in our closet, pristine and unworn, while my credit cards groaned under the weight of his failed ventures. My phone buzzed. Another message from Jake. Please come home. We can talk about this. I tossed the phone onto the bed and started pacing. The same bed where I'd spent the last 3 hours scrolling through our joint bank accounts, watching our life together dissolve into a series of suspicious transactions and unexplained withdrawals. A knock at the door made me freeze. Ruby. Melanie's voice. I know you're in there. I considered ignoring her, but curiosity won out. When I opened the door, she pushed past me, reeking of expensive perfume and desperation. You're making a huge mistake, she said, dropping onto the room's single chair. Jake's a mess. Mom's furious. This isn't how family handles things. Family. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Is that what we're calling it now? Don't be dramatic. So Mom got a little carried away with the tea thing. But you had to know this was coming. Jake needs. What Jake needs, I cut in, is to grow a spine. What he doesn't need is another enabler making excuses for his failures. Melanie's face hardened. At least he tries. All you do is judge him from your corporate ivory tower while he what? Burns through our savings? Takes out loans we can't afford? Tell me, Melanie, how many of his sure thing investments have you backed? She shifted uncomfortably. That's different. I believe in his vision. His vision. I laughed. The sound harsh even to my own ears. You mean like the cryptocurrency mining operation that nearly burned down our garage? Or maybe the artisanal pickle business that lasted exactly 2 weeks? You never supported him properly, she snapped. If you just what? Keep working 60-hour weeks so he can chase pipe dreams with mommy's approval? I'm done being the family ATM. Melanie stood, smoothing her designer dress. Mom was right about you. You never deserved Jake. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about him. I moved to open the door. Oh, and Melanie? That Cartier bracelet you're wearing? The one Jake gave you for your birthday? I paid for that too. She flushed, her hand automatically covering the bracelet. He said a lot of things. Now get out. After she left, I sat down at the small desk and opened my laptop. The cursor blinked accusingly as I logged into our joint accounts again. That's when I noticed something odd. A series of regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize, starting exactly 2 months after our wedding. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I dug deeper. Each transfer was labeled business investment, but the receiving account. I felt my stomach drop as I recognized Linda's bank. The amounts weren't huge, but over 8 years, they added up to nearly 6 figures. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Linda. I hope you're proud of yourself. Jake's devastated. Emily keeps asking where her Aunt Ruby is. If you had any decency, you'd sign those papers quietly and leave us in peace. I stared at the message, then back at the screen showing the transfer history. A cold clarity settled over me. They thought they had me cornered, humiliated, defeated. They expected me to slink away, sign their papers, vanish from their lives. Instead, I opened a new document and started typing. Every transaction, every failed business venture, every manipulative moment, I documented it all. Linda wanted peace? She was about to learn that peace came at a price, and I wasn't the one who would be paying it. The truth was a weapon, and I finally knew exactly where to aim it. The credit alert pinged on my phone while I was in a meeting with the company's board. My hands went numb as I stared at the notification. A loan approval for $50,000. A loan I never applied for. I excused myself, ignoring the concerned looks from my colleagues. In the hallway, I called the bank, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Yes, Mrs. Harrison, the loan was approved this morning. Your husband provided all the necessary documentation, including your power of attorney. Power of attorney. The words hit me like a physical blow. I remembered signing something last year, Jake insisting it was just a formality for his new business venture. It'll make things easier, he'd said, flashing that boyish smile that once made my heart flutter. My office phone was blinking when I returned, 3 messages from Linda. I deleted them without listening and opened my email instead. There it was, buried in my spam folder, a confirmation for a business registration. Harrison Family Ventures, LLC. Today's date. My name listed as guarantor. The knock on my office door made me jump. Ruby. It was my assistant, Sarah. There's someone here to see you. Says she's your niece. Emily stood in the reception area, her backpack clutched to her chest. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Aunt Ruby, she whispered. I didn't know where else to go. I ushered her into my office, closing the door on curious stares. Does your mom know you're here? She shook her head. Mom and Grandma are fighting. Uncle Jake came over and they're all yelling about money and papers and... She hiccuped. Mom said you stole from us. But that's not true, is it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Melanie. I sent it to voicemail. Emily, sweetie, how did you get here? I took the bus. I remembered your building from when you showed me where you work. She pulled something from her backpack, a manila folder. I found this in Mom's room. She was crying over it last night. The folder contained bank statements, loan documents, and emails. Dozens of them. Between Linda, Jake, and Melanie. Planning. Calculating. Using my income, my credit, my reputation to fund their schemes. "You're not the bad guy," Emily said quietly. "They are." My phone buzzed again. Jake this time. "Where's Emily?" "Mel's freaking out. Call me." I looked at Emily, then at the documents spread across my desk. 8 years of manipulation laid bare by an 8-year-old's curiosity. "Emily, I need to get you home." "Please don't make me go back," she whispered. "They're different when you're not there. Meaner. Grandma says terrible things, and Mom just agrees with everything, and Uncle Jake." My office phone rang. Linda's name flashed on the caller ID. I made a decision. "Sarah," I called out, "cancel my meetings for the rest of the day." I gathered the documents, tucking them into my briefcase. "Emily, how do you feel about ice cream?" Her face lit up, then fell. "But Mom says." "Your mom says a lot of things." I took her hand. "Let's go make some new rules." In the elevator, I texted Jake, "Emily's safe. With me. Don't worry. I'll document everything carefully. Just like you all did." The responses came rapid fire. Threats from Melanie. Guilt trips from Jake. Linda's message was just one line: "You've gone too far." I looked at Emily, who was humming softly, her small hand still in mine. "No, Linda. You all went too far. And now you're going to learn what happens when you push someone past their breaking point." "Aunt Ruby," Emily's voice was small. "Are you going to make them stop?" I squeezed her hand. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to make them stop." And I knew exactly where to begin. The folder in my briefcase wasn't just evidence of their betrayal. It was ammunition. They thought they were destroying me. Instead, they'd handed me everything I needed to tear their carefully constructed facade apart. Starting now. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows as I sat across from Detective Morris. Emily's folder spread between us. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, but my voice remained steady. Identity theft, fraud, unauthorized loans. Morris flipped through the documents. "This is serious, Mrs. Harrison. But are you sure you want to pursue this? It's your husband we're talking about." "Ex-husband," I corrected. "And yes, I'm sure." My phone vibrated. Another message from Linda. "You're making a terrible mistake. Think about Emily." That's exactly what I was doing. The detective's office door opened. Sarah, my assistant, rushed in, clutching her tablet. "Ruby, you need to see this." She turned the screen toward me. Our company's internal homepage displayed a lengthy email from Jake to the entire board of directors. My stomach lurched as I read. Accusations of embezzlement, fabricated evidence of me stealing company funds, carefully doctored screenshots of transactions I'd never made. "They're calling an emergency board meeting," Sarah whispered. "Tomorrow morning." Detective Morris leaned forward. "This complicates things." My laugh sounded hollow, even to my own ears. "You think?" A knock on the door made us all turn. Melanie stood there, mascara streaked down her face. "Ruby, please." "Mom's taken Emily." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "She says she's protecting her from all of us. She won't tell me where they're going." Melanie's voice cracked. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know how far she'd go." Detective Morris was already on the phone, barking orders about an endangered minor. I gripped the edge of the desk, trying to stay upright as Melanie continued. "The loans, the business ventures, they weren't Jake's idea. Mom's been planning this for years. She wanted to ruin you, make you look unstable. But now Emily's gone and I can't." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo of Emily, sleeping in what looked like a car seat. Below it, 2 words, "Choose wisely." "Mrs. Harrison," Detective Morris said, "we need to move quickly. But if we pursue these charges, your mother-in-law could retaliate with her own accusations. Given the email to your board." "She's counting on that," I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. "She thinks I'll back down to save my career. That I'll let them write me off as the unstable, greedy wife who tried to destroy the family." Sarah touched my arm. "Ruby, the board meeting can wait." I stood up, gathering the documents. "Detective, I want to file those charges. All of them. And I want a restraining order against Linda Harrison." Ruby, please, Melanie begged. If you do this. If I don't. Emily grows up thinking this is normal. That it's okay for family to manipulate and destroy each other. I turned to her. You can help us find her, or you can leave. Choose wisely. Melanie's face crumpled. She pulled out her phone, hands trembling. Mom has a lake house. It's not in her name, it's under a shell company. Emily and I spent last summer there. Detective Morris was already moving, coordinating with other officers. I watched them spring into action, feeling strangely calm. The career I'd built, my reputation, my future, all of it hung by a thread. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I knew exactly what I was fighting for. My phone buzzed one last time. Jake, whatever you're planning, don't. You'll lose everything. I typed back 3 words. I already have. Then I blocked his number and turned to Detective Morris. What do you need me to do? The detective smiled grimly. Tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. Because some things were worth losing everything for. And some battles needed to be fought, no matter the cost. Behind me, Melanie sank into a chair, her face in her hands. Ahead, the detectives' team mobilized to find Emily. And somewhere between justice and revenge, I finally found my line in the sand. Linda wanted a war. She was about to get one. The lake house loomed before us, dark and silent in the pre-dawn light. Detective Morris's team moved into position while I sat in the unmarked car, my heart hammering against my ribs. Melanie fidgeted beside me, her fingers twisting a tissue into shreds. Mom always comes here when she's upset, she whispered. Ever since Dad. Since what? Since he tried to leave her. She made sure he lost everything first. A crackle of static from the police radio made us both jump. Movement inside. East window. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, watching shadows shift behind curtains. Somewhere in there was Emily, caught in Linda's web of control and manipulation, just like her mother had been, just like Jake. The radio crackled again. Subject is moving toward the back door with the child. Now, Morris ordered. Everything exploded into motion. Officers emerged from the shadows, converging on the house. But before they reached the door, Linda stepped onto the back deck. Emily clutched against her chest. Stay back, she called out, her voice carrying across the yard. I'm not letting you take her. I reached for the car door, but Morris's hand shot out. Wait, Ruby. Linda spotted me in the car. Come out here. Face me yourself instead of hiding behind the police. Melanie grabbed my arm. Don't. You don't know what she's capable of. I know exactly what she's capable of. I shook off her grip and stepped out of the car. Linda's laugh carried across the space between us. Finally showing some backbone? Too late, dear. The board's already seen the evidence against you. Your career is over. Jake's filing criminal charges. You've lost everything. Emily, I called out, ignoring Linda. Are you okay, sweetheart? The little girl nodded, her eyes wide with fear. She's fine, Linda snapped. Better than she'd be with a thief for an aunt. Did you really think I wouldn't have proof of your embezzlement? That I wouldn't protect my family from you? I took another step forward. Like you protected them from your husband? Linda's face went white. Behind me, Melanie made a choked sound. Melanie told me everything, Linda. About the lake house. About what you did to her father. How many others have you destroyed to maintain control? You don't know anything, Linda hissed, but her grip on Emily loosened slightly. I kept walking, each step measured, deliberate. I know about the offshore accounts. The shell companies. The pattern of destruction that follows anyone who challenges you. I have proof of all of it. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. She shifted Emily to one arm, pulling out her phone. I watched her face change as she saw the email I'd sent minutes ago. Documents, bank records, testimonies from her past victims. All copied to the board, the police, and every major news outlet in the city. You wouldn't, she whispered. You taught me well, Linda. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something new. Emily suddenly twisted free, running toward me. I caught her as Linda lunged forward, but the police were already moving. In seconds, they had her surrounded. You'll regret this, Linda snarled as they led her away. All of you will. I held Emily close, feeling her trembling. Melanie approached slowly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have stopped her years ago." "Mom." Emily's small voice cut through the chaos. "Are we safe now?" I looked at the lake house, at Linda being placed in a police car, at the life I'd just burned to the ground. The sky was lightning, dawn breaking over the water. "Yes," I said, and for the first time in years, I believed it. "We're safe." My phone buzzed. Jake, probably learning what had happened. I declined the call. Whatever came next, whatever price I had to pay, some things were worth losing everything for. The sun rose over the lake, painting the world in shades of gold and promise. The boardroom felt like a tomb, 15 faces staring down at me from the elevated platform. My presentation materials, proof of Linda's schemes, Jake's fraud, the years of manipulation, sat untouched before them. Chairman Roberts hadn't even opened the folder. "Mrs. Harrison," he said, "these allegations against your mother-in-law are troubling. They're not allegations. They're facts. Facts that conveniently emerged after suspicious transfers were detected from company accounts under your supervision." The projector hummed to life, displaying transaction records. My stomach dropped as I recognized the pattern, perfectly crafted forgeries showing years of systematic theft. Linda's work, wearing my digital fingerprints. "I can explain." "Mrs. Harrison," Roberts cut in, "given the severity of these discoveries and your recent emotional instability, the board has decided to suspend you pending investigation." Security waited by the door. My access badge would be deactivated before I reached the lobby. 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder, destroyed in 15 minutes. My phone vibrated. Jake's lawyer. Criminal charges filed. Court date set. Recommend immediate settlement. I walked out with my head high, past Sarah's tearful face, past the whispers and stares. In the elevator, another message pinged. "Melanie. They're releasing Mom on bail. Emily's scared. Please help." The doors opened to reveal Jake waiting in the lobby, looking haunted. "Ruby, we need to talk." "Now you want to talk?" "After filing criminal charges." "I didn't. Mom's lawyer filed them. I tried to stop it, but you're still too weak to stand up to her." I moved past him, but he caught my arm. "She's destroying everything," he whispered. "The business loans, the fraud charges, she set us both up. I found proof, but she threatened Emily if I came forward." I jerked away. Convenient timing, Jake. Where was this revelation when she was pouring tea over my head? "Ruby, please. I know I messed up, but Emily, don't." My voice cracked. "Don't use that child as a shield for your cowardice." Outside, reporters waited. Linda's email to the media had done its work. The successful executive's spectacular fall from grace, complete with accusations of theft and family betrayal. Cameras flashed as I pushed through them. My phone buzzed again. "Detective Morris, evidence compromised. Internal Affairs investigation launched. Can't help further." Of course. Linda's influence reached far. I made it to my car before the tears came. Everything I'd built, everything I'd fought for, gone. Linda had outmaneuvered me at every turn, using my own weapons against me. Even my attempt to expose her had played into her hands. A tap on my window made me jump. Emily stood there, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, Melanie hovered uncertainly. "Grandma's coming home," Emily sobbed as I opened the door. "She says we're all going to live together now. Be a proper family. She says you're sick and need help." Melanie called. "We should go." "No." Emily clung to me. "Aunt Ruby's not sick. Grandma's the one who hurts people." I saw the papers, the ones she made Uncle Jake sign. I heard her on the phone about the fake money stuff. Melanie went pale. "Emily, what papers?" "In Grandma's special room. The one we're not supposed to talk about." I looked at Melanie, seeing the same realization dawn in her eyes. Linda's perfect plan had one flaw. She'd forgotten about the one person she thought didn't matter. The child who saw everything. "Emily," I said carefully, "would you be brave enough to tell Detective Morris about those papers?" She nodded, squeezing my hand. My phone buzzed one last time. "Linda, it's over, Ruby. You've lost." I looked at Emily's determined face, at Melanie's dawning courage, at the truth finally emerging from the shadows. Maybe I had lost everything. But sometimes, losing everything was just the beginning. No, Linda, I whispered. It's just starting. Linda's special room looked exactly as Emily had described, a pristine home office with walls of filing cabinets. Detective Morris and his team moved methodically through the space while Linda sat rigid in her chair, her perfect posture finally cracking. This is harassment, she spat. You have no right. Actually, Morris held up the warrant. We do. Emily's testimony was quite specific about which cabinet contained the forged documents. I leaned against the doorframe, watching Linda's face. The same face that had smiled while dumping tea on me, now twisted with barely contained rage. You're using a child, she hissed at me. My own granddaughter. No, Linda. You used her. Just like you used Jake, Melanie, and everyone else. The detective's voice cut through our tension. Found it. Linda lunged for the drawer, but two officers held her back. Morris pulled out a thick folder. Original loan documents, banking records, emails outlining her entire scheme. Everything Emily had described. It's over, Mom. Jake stood in the doorway, Melanie beside him. Both looked shell-shocked as Morris read out document after document. You ungrateful children, Linda's voice trembled. Everything I did was for this family. To keep us together. To make us strong. You made us weak. Melanie stepped forward. You made us afraid. Of you, a failure of everything. Afraid. Linda laughed, high and brittle. I made you successful. Ask your father how well he did after he left. Ask anyone who's crossed me. Ask Emily. I cut in. What were you teaching her, Linda? That love means control? That family means fear. She turned on me, mask finally shattering. You were nothing before this family. A nobody from nowhere who thought she could take my son, my legacy. Your legacy? Jake's voice cracked. Look around, Mom. Look what you've built. Lies. Fraud. Your own granddaughter testified against you because she was more afraid of your love than your anger. Speaking of testimony, Morris interrupted. Mrs. Harrison, we found evidence of extensive financial fraud, identity theft, and criminal conspiracy. You'll need to come with us. Linda's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies. You can't prove. Actually, I pulled out my phone. We can. Emily wasn't the only one gathering evidence. Remember that charity foundation you used to launder money? Their board just voted to cooperate with the investigation. Fully. The color drained from her face. You learned from the best. I stepped closer. You taught me well, Linda. About power. About consequences. About family. She lunged at me suddenly, years of careful control exploding into rage. But before the officers could react, Melanie caught her mother's arm. Stop. Melanie's voice was quiet but firm. Just stop. Linda stared at her daughter's hand, then at Jake's resolute face, then finally at me. Something crumbled behind her eyes. You've destroyed everything, she whispered. No, I replied. You did that yourself. I just showed them the truth. As the officers led her away, Jake touched my arm. Ruby, don't. I stepped back. This isn't forgiveness, Jake. This is justice. There's a difference. What happens now? Melanie asked, staring at the empty doorway where her mother had disappeared. Emily's voice answered from the hallway. We get better. We all turned. She stood there, small but straight-backed, looking so much stronger than any of us. We get better, she repeated. Right, Aunt Ruby? I looked at this broken family. Jake's shame, Melanie's grief, Emily's hope. The revenge I'd wanted had transformed into something else. Something that felt less like victory and more like liberation. Yes, I said, taking Emily's hand. We get better. Behind us, Linda's perfect room lay in ruins, her careful facade stripped away. But in that destruction, I saw something new emerging. Something real. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about destroying the lies they built their power on. And sometimes that's enough. The courtroom emptied slowly, murmurs echoing off marble walls as Linda was led away in handcuffs. I remained seated, watching Emily draw patterns on the wooden bench with her finger. 7 to 10 years, she said thoughtfully. That's like forever. Not forever, I replied. Just long enough. Melanie approached, clutching her purse like a shield. The house sold. Above asking price. She handed me an envelope. Your share of the proceeds. I know it doesn't make up for. Keep it, I said. Put it in Emily's college fund. The ghost of a smile crossed her face. You're still looking out for us, even after everything. Not for us, Emily corrected. For me. Because I told the truth. Jake lingered by the courtroom doors, uncertain. He'd testified against his mother, finally finding his voice after years of silence. Too late for us, but maybe not too late for himself. My phone buzzed, a message from the board. After Linda's conviction, they'd launched an internal investigation that cleared my name. They wanted me back, with a promotion and a public apology. I deleted the message without responding. You're not going back, are you? Emily asked, watching my face. No. Some places you can't go back to. Sometimes you have to build something new. Like my art studio. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket, a business plan written in crayon, complete with stick figure drawings. Mom says I'm too young, but I've been saving my allowance. Melanie sighed. Emily. Actually, I interrupted. I'd like to hear this pitch. Emily's face lit up. She launched into her presentation, describing her vision for an after-school art program for kids. No pressure, no competition, just creation. A safe space to express themselves. And see. She pointed to a wobbly organizational chart. You could help run it, Aunt Ruby. You're good at business stuff and Mom's good at art, and we could. She stopped, uncertain. Unless you don't want to be around us anymore. The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. I looked at Melanie's hopeful expression, at Jake's distant guilt, at Emily's simple wisdom. You know what Linda never understood? I said finally. The difference between controlling people and supporting them. Between fear and love. Emily nodded solemnly, like how she said she was protecting us, but really she was just scared of losing us. Exactly. I picked up her business plan. So maybe it's time to build something different. Something real. Is that a yes? Her eyes sparkled. It's a let's talk about it. Over ice cream. Can Mom come? I met Melanie's gaze. If she wants to. Jake stepped forward. Ruby, not you, Jake. I kept my voice gentle but firm. Some bridges stay burned. But I hope you build better ones. He nodded, understanding finally settling into his features. As he left, Emily slipped her hand into mine. Grandma said revenge would make you ugly inside, she whispered. But it didn't. It made you stronger. Made all of us stronger. I thought about Linda's face as the verdict was read, about the years of manipulation unraveled by a child's truth, about the difference between revenge and justice, between destruction and transformation. Ready to go? I asked. Emily nodded, then paused. Can we get chocolate ice cream? Any flavor you want. As we left the courthouse, I felt the weight of the past 8 years lifting. Linda's perfect family had shattered, but from its ruins, something authentic was emerging. Not perfect, not unmarked, but real. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free. And sometimes, freedom tastes like chocolate ice cream on a Tuesday afternoon, planning a future that nobody else gets to control.
This happened right after I bought a house with a garden. Both my husband, Kevin, and my mother-in-law, Dorothy, declared their intention to move in with me, grinning mischievously. Mom and I are moving into the new house too.
If you don't like it, I'll just have my son divorce you.
Dorothy's coming, so of course my terrible sister-in-law will come along too. They knew I wouldn't like it, but still went through with it. I shuddered at the thought of the daily harassment continuing even after moving. No, I don't intend to live together there.
What? Know your boundaries.
Dorothy raised her eyebrows. What she pulled out was a divorce form already signed by my husband. Her face said she didn't care about anything as long as she got the house. It was scary how well her plan worked. I had to suppress my laughter desperately. I wonder how scared I looked with my head down trembling while Dorothy looked so proud. I quietly signed the divorce papers, packed my things, and left their house. It was on the day of the move that I received a relentless call from Dorothy. She finally realized, huh? Dorothy demanded a meeting to talk. This was just what I wanted. I would meet her and end it with my own hands. After careful preparation to punish them, I headed to the battlefield. My name is Tracy. I work as an office worker at an advertising agency. It was the chief at a newspaper company who introduced me to Kevin. I was in a tough spot, so I couldn't say no to my chief. I ended up marrying Kevin after dating for 6 months at 29. I'll regret this decision for ages. I think Dorothy, Kevin's mom, intended to deceive me from the beginning. She seemed gentle and kind, but once I married into the family, she completely changed her attitude, and she showed her true self as a terrible mother-in-law.
Hey, Tracy, what are you dawdling for? When you're done with the dishes, go out and start weeding the garden just like I mentioned earlier.
There was not a day at my in-laws' house without Dorothy's shrill voice echoing. Every day was rough for me, and all I could do was reply with a sigh. After getting married, I was asked by my husband to live with his parents. His dad had passed away due to illness, and his mom had been suffering from leg pain for many years. He was really begging me because he didn't want to leave his mom all alone in their old house. But Dorothy was actually walking around like nothing was wrong. She insisted that educating her daughter-in-law was a mother-in-law's duty. It was harsh to me every day. Kevin, too, was no better. Even when I wished to live separately, he would only make excuses to avoid it. He's always under his mom's thumb. He never stood up for me when Dorothy was being annoying to me.
Sorry. My mom's pretty harsh, you know?
Stop laughing and help me. I'm really suffering here. Ever since we tied the knot, I've been feeling really anxious and depressed. Sometimes I just start crying out of nowhere or feel sick for no reason. I got checked by a specialist. Turns out it's an adjustment disorder. I was really bothered by how living at my in-laws was affecting me. Dorothy was relentless with her tough requests, not caring about my feelings.
Don't be lazy just because it's your day off. Have you finished cleaning the room? Haven't you done the shopping yet? Check the discount stores before you go.
Please wait, Dorothy. Please don't rush me. I have a headache. I'll make sure to finish the cleaning and shopping later.
Don't talk nonsense. If you're told to do something, do it right away. You're my son's wife, aren't you?
I wanted to argue back that me being a daughter-in-law doesn't mean that I'm a maid. Most of the demands from Dorothy were about the house itself. Clean the gutters, replace the curtain, fix the splinters on the pillars. My in-laws' house was very old and falling apart. It creaked with every wind. Each time Dorothy would urge my husband,
Please just hurry up and get a new house. This is actually a rental house. We're renting it cheap from an acquaintance. Wouldn't it be nice to live freely in our own house for once? Kevin, you agree, right?
I do think so. But with my salary, it's impossible. A house of our own is just a dream.
The son who can't do anything right made Dorothy mad. So now, as his wife, she's giving me a hard time. Cook, clean, weed the garden, take her to the doctor. I was exhausted from working full-time, but Dorothy and my husband didn't show any concern. And that's why I got stuck with an adjustment disorder. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, this person moved in 6 months after me at my in-laws' house. Hillary, my sister-in-law, came back divorced with her child. She had been kicked out after being told,
I never want to see your face again.
Well, it's my fault. I neglected my kid and slept with my husband's boss.
What kind of moral sense does this woman have? Seeing me disgusted, Hillary smirked. Just like her mother, Hillary did nothing around the house and even had me clean her room.
Can't help it, right? I'm raising my kid. You wouldn't understand if you haven't had one. But it's tougher than it looks. So, Tracy, I'm counting on your support.
Hillary doesn't work. She just lounges around all day. Caring for her child is just an afterthought. She spends her time relaxing on the sofa, being lazy. Her behavior is especially bad on weekends. She leaves her daughter with me and goes to the casino. Hillary, the troublemaker, seems to hang out with a sketchy crowd and they drink together in the afternoon. It would be nice if she helped with the housework even a little, but she really does nothing. She's the kind of woman who would do anything to get money for fun. Here's what happened one day. Hillary handed me a pouch, and when I asked what it was for, "That's our dad's. Cufflinks, rings, and a vintage lighter are in it." What? What am I supposed to do with this?
You're so clueless. Go and sell it. And make sure you sell it for as much as possible, okay?
All these things used to belong to her dad who passed away. They're all special things to remember him by. It made me sad when my sister-in-law wanted to sell them like it was no big deal. Thinking that she would use the money from selling them to go gambling made me feel even more helpless. I just couldn't bring myself to do it, so I explained the situation and dumped the whole pouch on my husband. What he did with my father-in-law's things after that, I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know. Many things happened when Hillary first returned. My belongings started to go missing after Hillary arrived. I also think it was around that time that I learned my husband might be cheating. A friend who works at a different advertising agency happened to see him on a weekend. She saw my husband walking arm in arm with a young woman. When I heard about it, I was furious. I'm busy working from morning to night, even on my days off, and you're out having fun with a young woman? That's unacceptable. It's cheating, isn't it? Who is she? Tell me the truth.
No, I wasn't cheating. She's just a girl from a brothel.
Excuse me? You shouldn't be going to brothels when you're married, should you? Hillary saw us arguing and burst out laughing. As for Dorothy, she looked dismayed, but didn't strongly reprimand my husband. According to her, if a husband visits such places, it means his wife isn't devoted enough.
Getting worked up over something like this is embarrassing. The fault is yours, really. It's because of you, his wife, don't devote enough to Kevin that things like this happen.
I don't think so. Dorothy, isn't that a bit unreasonable?
In this house, that's common sense. Besides, going to brothels or cheating is just what guys do. And as his wife, it's your duty to forgive him with a generous heart, you useless wife.
It seems my common sense is nonsense to them. Forgive Kevin for visiting brothels or cheating on me? I couldn't possibly do that. My irritation only grew. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. To change this unpleasant situation, I decided to take action. Even after that, Dorothy and Hillary remained the same. Day after day, they treated me like a servant, lying on the sofa or the floor like sloths. They would raise their voices when hungry.
Hey, why isn't lunch ready yet? It's already noon. Don't dawdle, okay? Tracy, you're so slow, it's annoying.
Then why don't you make it yourselves? I'm constantly on the move, doing garden work, cleaning rooms, shopping, without a moment to rest, you know.
Don't talk back like that. Know your place.
It seems I'm not even allowed to voice my opinion. That's it. I'm done. I wanted to get a divorce as soon as possible. But if things were that easy, I wouldn't be suffering. It was my chief at the newspaper company, whom I owe a lot, who introduced me to my husband. My chief also asked me not to do anything that would embarrass him. Annoyingly, Dorothy knows this very well and often brings it up. I'm completely stuck with this situation. For a while, all I could do was endure. Then one day, my husband's infidelity became an undeniable fact. My friend from a different company found some clear evidence. That prepared the first stage of my plan. Now I had to make the next move. I think about a month had passed when Hillary spread out a housing catalog on the dinner table after we finished eating. It was unmistakably the one I kept in my bag.
Look at this! It seems like Tracy was planning to buy a house.
Wait, did you rummage through my bag? Why would you do that?
Just be quiet. Wow, it's a bit in the countryside, but it's a nice house, isn't it?
Tracy, you should consult me about this kind of thing.
The house I had my eye on was a detached house with a garden. As Dorothy said, it's in the countryside, but it looks quite nice. I had already visited the site several times and met with a real estate agent. When I honestly confessed about it, the three of them really took an interest.
What? You've already gotten that far in the discussions? You're buying it? It's cheap and spacious, not bad. Kevin, it takes guts for a man.
What? But, a house with a garden. It's tempting.
If you're going to own a house, then I'll support you. I'll even help out a little. Don't you want to move out and live there together with Tracy?
Dorothy was pushing my husband to do something he didn't need to. She's such a hypocrite. She has no intention of letting me go that easily. When I asked whose name the house would be in, my husband frowned.
I'm the head of the family, right? It will be in my name, of course.
Then, is it okay to proceed? We'll buy this house and move out. Just the two of us.
Okay, I understand. I'm a man too. We'll buy the house. Hurry up and proceed with the discussions.
Finally, my husband clearly says so. Dorothy and Hillary both praised him, but I saw what they were doing. They glanced at each other and cracked up. A few days later, just after purchasing a country house with a garden as planned, my husband and Dorothy, both grinning, declared their intent to move in with me.
Mom and I are moving in.
What? But we were supposed to live, just the two of us in this house.
After thinking it over, we've decided to live together after all. You wouldn't say no, would you? If you do, I'll make my son divorce you. I wonder what your chief would say.
There it was. What a despicable tactic. If Dorothy was coming, Hillary would surely come along. Thinking of the daily harassment that would continue even after moving, I shuddered. Absolutely not. I have no intention whatsoever of living with you there.
What? What are you saying? Don't you understand your situation?
Dorothy was angry, her eyebrows raised. What she took out was a divorce form, already signed by my husband. Her face said that she didn't care about anything as long as she got the house.
If you really hate it that much, here, sign this.
Yes, I will sign. I'll go ahead with the divorce. I've had enough.
What? Hey, Tracy, are you really okay with this?
Kevin, let her be. Living with such a snotty and useless woman would only upset you.
You're young. You'll find another wife soon enough. That was a terrible thing to say. I signed the divorce papers. Dorothy was triumphant, oblivious to how I felt. It was scary how well her plan worked. I had to desperately hold back my laughter. A few days after I moved to a new apartment, I got several calls from Dorothy. Checking the calendar, it was as I thought. Today was their moving day. She finally realized, huh? The ringing wouldn't stop, calling me non-stop. How typical of Dorothy. Even though I ignored it, she kept calling, so I finally answered. She started yelling without even a greeting.
You! What have you done? What kind of property have you trapped us with?
It's been a while, Dorothy. Please, calm down. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't play dumb. It's about this house. You knew it was a defective house when you bought it, didn't you? It must be so. It has to be.
Indeed, the house I chose had issues. The ground itself was weak, and the land often sank. Even if it was a new construction, doors would stop closing after a few years. Apparently there's a mine tunnel for coal mining around here that's causing all the issues, but the locals already knew about it and built their house on safe ground. It's only the clueless new folks moving in who are dealing with the issues. I trapped those three by using a problematic house this time. It was hard work coordinating with a real estate agent to find a reasonably priced defective house. I set it up so that Hillary would swipe the real estate catalog from my bag. I made sure to leave my bag out where she could easily grab it. Unaware of this, the three of them fell right into the trap and moved. It was hard to keep from laughing when signing the divorce papers. I wanted to tell them everything, but I couldn't do that. I pretended I didn't know. A defective house? That can't be right. Isn't there some mistake?
What's with that tone? How insincere. Anyway, come over here a bit.
What? No. Honestly, I never want to see you all again.
What? What did you say?
I had no desire to meet a family of monsters that didn't understand common sense. Even if they offered me money, I'd refuse. And then Kevin spoke up.
Come on, Tracy, please. Just think about our feelings for a bit.
I'll return those words to you, Kevin. Have you ever considered my feelings, even a little? You haven't, right? You never stood up for me, right?
I'm sorry. I'll apologize. Hey, where are you? Tell me where you moved.
As if I'd tell you? If you showed up, I'd have to move again. Anyway, I want to cut ties with you all. The conversation went nowhere. Eventually, Dorothy started making even more unreasonable claims. She said the divorce was invalid and that we were still family. Impossible. I submitted those divorce papers. How unreasonable can these people be?
Anyway, let's just meet once to talk. We're getting nowhere. Come on.
I'm also begging you, Tracy. Just once. Let's settle this there, okay?
Dorothy and Kevin were insistent on meeting to talk. Even if I refused, they would surely call again. With no other choice, I decided to meet and deal with them once and for all. Fine, we can meet up just once.
Thanks, I owe you one.
But I'll choose the time and place, okay? I didn't want to risk being ambushed or followed. If I don't gain the upper hand even a little, the future will be terrifying. After thorough preparations, I called the three of them to a cafe. I arrived 20 minutes late to the cafe I had specified. Dorothy and Hillary, who had been waiting, were already furious. Kevin had a wry smile. They were just as I had expected.
How dare you make us wait? You're really out of line.
I don't even want to hear that. What do you want?
What is that attitude? It's infuriating. Because of you, we ended up with a defective house and it's causing us trouble. You need to take responsibility.
That's why I'm telling you. I didn't know anything about that. It was you who started talking about moving in together, right? Dorothy was at a loss for words. She couldn't deny it. She and Hillary had jumped into the defective house themselves. Apparently, the previous residence was undergoing renovation by the owner. In other words, they had nowhere to stay but that defective house. If you're done with your part, then let me speak. Dorothy, I will be suing you for damages and will file a lawsuit. Be prepared.
What? Damages? A lawsuit? Why would it come to this? I can't accept this. What have I done to you? Prove it.
You caused me mental distress, to the point of developing an adjustment disorder. I showed them a copy of the medical certificate I received from the hospital. All three stared intently at it. Dorothy's eyes were particularly wide. She probably never thought I was seeing a psychiatrist. You never thought about how much your verbal abuse could hurt someone, did you? I suffered a lot. I felt nauseous and cried. It was really tough.
That's because you're weak. It was all because you were a terrible daughter-in-law to begin with, wasn't it? Isn't that right?
That too. Do you realize that calling me a terrible daughter-in-law is actually considered insulting and can be a crime? You could be punished with imprisonment for up to a year or a fine of up to $3,000.
What? It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal? Dorothy really doesn't understand anything, huh? She's been really sinful. It's not okay to be mean and hurt others with words. There's more that could subject you to criminal penalties. Dorothy, you threatened me several times by saying you would talk to my chief about the divorce, right? That's a crime of intimidation.
Just a minute. Are you being a bit too dramatic?
I'm not being dramatic. By the way, the statutory penalty for intimidation is imprisonment for up to 2 years or a fine of up to $3,000. I won't back down, you know.
Wait a minute.
Hillary cut in. Her gaze was sharper than usual. You could say she had the look of a former delinquent. A face that said she wouldn't be intimidated.
Listening to you, it sounds like you're taking advantage of Mom's ignorance and scaring her. Do you even have any proof that you were insulted or threatened?
Yes, I do, because I've been recording all along.
What? Recording?
Yes, I have the voice memo function on my smartphone activated all throughout my time at my ex-in-law's house. And that's quite a bit of audio recording. I've also prepared data extracted just from the parts where I was verbally abused by Dorothy. If I submit that as evidence, the crimes of insult and intimidation will almost certainly be confirmed. Did you think I would just sit back and take it? It's not just you, Dorothy. Hillary, you too. You'll likely be held accountable.
What? Why? What did I do to you?
Take a moment to think. Didn't you commit a crime? Or are you saying you didn't do anything to upset me?
There's no way I did anything to upset you. Don't mock me.
Hillary insists she's innocent. I showed her the screen of my smartphone. Suddenly her face turned pale. It's not surprising she turned pale. What was shown was her rummaging through my bag, the disgraceful sight of her snooping around my things.
What is that? Why? When did you even take that?
Ever since you arrived, my belongings have often gone missing. My makeup, accessories, clothes, bags. So I set up a hidden camera.
That's terrible. How dare you act on your own when you're just Kevin's wife?
I'm appalled. Who's acting on their own? Let me tell you about the statutory penalty for theft. Imprisonment for up to 10 years or a fine of up to $5,000. I'll contact the police later. Hillary was gaping, wanting to say something but unable to. She looked utterly helpless. I have a record of everything that has gone missing from my possessions. The actual extent of the damage is well documented, making it easier for the police and lawyers to act. When it comes to action, I go all out. I had decided that I would never forgive these three. And finally on to Kevin. He shrugged when I glared at him. If we're talking about the degree of unforgiveness, he's the one I can't forgive the most. I thought marriage was about helping each other. But Kevin, it seems you had a different idea, didn't you? From the beginning to the end, you were always against me, weren't you?
Wait, what? I didn't mean that at all. Seriously, trust me. I was just trying to help out today, you know?
Yes, I've had enough of lies. I don't need your mediation. Kevin is a wimp who only thinks about himself, always trying to side with the stronger party, just as he has always been on the side of his mother and sister before. And even now, trying somehow to get on my good side, hoping to be the only one forgiven. If he had been a more decent man, I might have continued our marriage. If he had said we should live alone in another place, I might have done just that. The name of the person you cheated with seems to be Mandy Smith.
What? How?
How do I know? I had someone check for me. I have a friend who's good at that sort of thing. I even have a photo of you and Miss Smith entering a hotel together. Here, look.
Whoa, no need to show me.
As I attempted to show him the screen of my smartphone, my ex-husband quickly blocked it. He probably didn't want his mother and sister to see the evidence of his affair. It should matter to them. Morals and ethics are already broken among all three of them. They are that kind of family. I put my smartphone and the copy of the diagnosis back in my bag. There's no need to show any more evidence from my side. Dorothy, Kevin, and Hillary all seemed to have lost their will to fight. They know they could be reported if they mess up. They seem frightened. Unfortunately, I was fully intent on consulting the police regardless of whether they did anything. I think the police will be visiting you eventually. It's better not to run. Your crimes might become more severe. Also, make sure you don't contact me. Got it?
Tracy, don't be so cold. Were we married until just recently?
Yes, we were. Honestly, I think marrying you was a huge mistake. I feel relieved now that we're not married. If you follow me, I'll sue you for that as well, so be prepared. Don't wait for me in front of my workplace. Don't contact me unless absolutely necessary. I made a few simple promises like that with the three of them and left the cafe. They remained looking down even after I left the cafe. You can't stop people from gossiping. Word about my ex-husband's divorce spread like wildfire at his job. Word got out that he was cheating, and treating his wife badly. Now his coworkers are starting to ignore him. After all, Kevin and I were introduced through a department head of a newspaper company we dealt with. It was unnatural for my ex-husband to be viewed harshly after losing their trust. Unable to bear the hostile environment, he eventually quit. His last job did not go well, and his relationship with his mother and sister began to go bad. He reappeared in front of me about a year after our divorce. I was stopped on my way home from work, and there stood a shabby man. "Kevin? I didn't recognize you for a second."
I guess. People tell me I've changed a lot recently.
He seemed to be struggling, and that wasn't surprising. Both Dorothy and Hillary were fined after their guilt was confirmed. I had demanded damages from Kevin too. They must be financially struggling now. They still have to pay the mortgage for the defective house they live in, so it must be quite difficult. How are your mom and Hillary doing?
They're alive, but barely. Both are working now. They have to or they can't eat. They always say they want to go back to how things were.
They want to go back to living off what you and I earned? Sounds just like them. They're just like parasites. I'm truly glad I cut ties. I thought he might say something in return, but he didn't. Instead, my ex-husband let out a big sigh and apologized to me.
I really regret everything. I'm sincerely reflecting on it. I was a fool. Like you said, I should have been on your side all along. I must have been out of my mind.
I think your family has always been out of their minds.
Don't say such cold things. Please, let's live together again. I'll cut ties with that family for good. I'm serious. You're all I have.
Oh, that's too bad. I already have someone else. I don't need you, and even if I didn't have a partner, I would never consider getting back together. When I firmly said that, Kevin collapsed to his knees. But there's no way I would fall for such a performance now. If I was a terrible person, I probably would have spat on him right there. I left my ex-husband behind and went home. After that, he never contacted me again. The real estate agent who had helped me informed me of this. Dorothy, Kevin, and Hillary's lives turned into a real mess after that. They were angry at each other for how bad things were at home, and it just made things between them even more strained. Sounds of arguing and breaking glass could be heard from their house every night. They were always insulting and annoying each other, but they couldn't go their separate ways. It was like being in hell. They're pretty much on their own in their neighborhood, and nobody wants anything to do with them. So they'll likely sell their house for next to nothing and end up with no place to live and a bunch of debt. In my mind, I can clearly see the three of them huddled together under the cold sky, cursing each other. Someday I'd like to see with my own eyes just how miserable they've become. Meanwhile, I am living a surprisingly happy life. It's all thanks to my new partner. He's a skilled salesman working for a major trading company, a mature man who can respect others' values and has a calm disposition. He's also divorced, just like me. Soon we plan to have a nice little ceremony. My first marriage was a total nightmare. Sometimes I get really emotional thinking about how much it hurt back then. But even so, when I'm with him, my heart just fills up with warmth. This is where I truly belong. It's been a long journey, but I've finally arrived. That's how I feel. I've been through some tough stuff, but it's made me want to be more understanding towards others. I'm looking to live a happy and fulfilling life, taking my experiences as lessons. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Are you trying to ruin our wedding? I didn't mean to. I just wanted to say that you're spending too much money. Lisa, I understand that you are poor, but Sean is going to be the next president, right? We don't need to worry about money. Even if he is going to be the next president, this is too much. That's not true. When I asked him, "Don't you want to see your mother happy?" Sean would listen to anything I said. What? Sean loves you, doesn't he? When I said it was for you, he generously provided the money. The words hit me like a knife.
I suddenly looked at the face of the bride, and she was smirking at me. You exploited the feelings of my son who cared about me. Anger was bubbling up inside me. To this, the bride responded with shocking words. So what? If you're going to complain anymore, can you please leave? We don't need a low-educated poor mother. Please don't involve yourself with us ever again. Her words, steeped in a sense of superiority, rapidly amplified my anger. I would never forgive this. The time she could feel victorious was only temporary. Glaring at the back of Lisa, who was walking away, still looking down on me, I made a firm resolution and attended the reception. My name is Megan. My husband passed away early, and now I live with my son Sean. Since my family was poor, I started working as soon as I graduated from junior high school. Later, I met my husband who had started a company, and we got married. Decades later, when his business stabilized and we were financially comfortable, my frugality never faded, and I still live a life of saving. Neither my husband nor Sean ever spoke ill of my frugality. On the contrary, they accepted it and joined me in being economical. My son, who has a generous personality, has accepted my frugal nature without complaint even now as a working adult. After my husband's death, the company was taken over by my brother-in-law Kevin, who is now the president. Sean works there and is a candidate for the next president. Despite such talk, my son continues to live as usual without boasting. Sean, whom I raised alone after my husband's death, is my pride and joy. Sometimes I worry that he cares too much about me and pushes himself too hard. But that caring nature is also what I'm proud of. Since he started working, his independence seems to have grown. And he has become a very reliable man recently. So, when he said, "I have a girlfriend," I felt a bit lonely, but I genuinely wanted to bless them. She's a girl introduced to me by a friend, but she's really nice. I smiled at the happy Sean. I want to start a family soon, to reassure you, Mom. So, I want to marry her. Oh, thank you. But haven't you been dating her for only a short time? Don't rush into marriage because you're worried about me. It's your life, so make your own decisions without worrying about me. It was delightful that he cared about me. But I didn't want him to choose his lifelong partner just to reassure his mother. However, the fact that he had a girlfriend, that he seemed very happy, and above all, that he cared so much about me, warmed my heart. I was blessed to have such a son who loved me. That's what I thought. Half a year after hearing from Sean that he had a girlfriend, the two were seriously considering marriage, and he said she would come to greet me. Although I had heard about Lisa from my son several times before, it was the first time to meet her. Megan, is it true that you are a junior high graduate? And yet, you raised a fine son like Sean. After introducing ourselves and chatting a bit, it was when Sean left the table. Lisa gave me a provocative look. Well, yes, Sean has really grown up well. I barely managed to respond, but I couldn't help feeling uncomfortable with her words. Although her words praised Sean, they seemed to mock me as well. Fine? You don't humble yourself at all, do you? Normally, people are modest. Oh, maybe you don't know this kind of common sense because you're a junior high graduate? What? Oh, sorry. I was just curious. It's really amazing. I definitely couldn't raise a son as a single mother. Although she said that, the corners of her mouth were slightly twisted in a smirk. What were you talking about? When Sean returned and asked this, Lisa responded without hesitation. We were talking about how amazing it is that your mother raised such a wonderful Sean. I really respect you, Megan, she said, turning a smile towards me. But I could feel the thorns in her words and couldn't shake off a feeling of discomfort. Right. Sean is going to be the next president, right? The conversation shifted to the future of the two, inevitably leading to talks about Sean's upcoming promotion. She looked excited about the prospect of Sean becoming the next president. In contrast, my son responded calmly. It's just because my uncle is the president that people say that. I'm still inexperienced and need to study and grow more. It's the company my father left behind, so I can't take it lightly and let it decline. But you will become the president eventually, right? Lisa asked, hurriedly. I'll do my best to make it happen. Sean said this with a smile, but she seemed a bit dissatisfied. Before we talk about becoming president, you need to get promoted first. The jobs assigned to you depend on your position, and you need to be aware of those responsibilities. When I advised this, my son nodded strongly. Lisa regained the sparkle in her eyes at this. When you get promoted, your salary will increase, right? Since you're being called the next president, I guess your income will keep getting better, huh? Her eyes lit up at the mention of a next president and salary. The discomfort I felt about her remained even after she left. Tell me, Sean, isn't Lisa just marrying you for your money? She seemed too interested in your salary and the talk of you becoming the next president. I couldn't help but ask my son. It's his life, even if we are family. I shouldn't have interfered, but I couldn't help speaking out, considering his happiness. However, Sean denied it. I don't think that's the case. Lisa is concerned about money because she plans to manage our finances after we get married. Money is also important in marriage. I see. So, you two have discussed it properly. Yes. Lisa said she would manage our finances when we get married. She's a very responsible woman, so it'll be fine. Well, if you say so. Mom, I'm 28 years old, okay? I'm an adult, so please don't worry like that. My son's smile swept away my worries. Seeing his expression, I realized something. Perhaps I was just feeling a sort of jealousy towards Lisa. Was that what it felt like to be the mother of a son who was getting married? I found myself strangely convinced by that thought. However, I would later realize that such thoughts were mistaken. A year after Lisa's greeting, they have a wedding today. I know nothing about the details of the wedding. Lisa told me not to interfere too much. Surely, the wedding is a significant event for the two of them and their future married life. I decided to silently watch over them, eagerly awaiting this day. However, when I arrived at the venue, I was stunned and stood frozen. The rented venue was decorated extravagantly, beyond what is usual for ordinary people. In the waiting room, there was a guess the color quiz for guests to guess the color of the wedding dress Lisa would change into during the ceremony. I've seen such productions before, but there was a distinct difference this time. There were 2 changes of clothes and guests were asked to choose 2 colors. The menu listed luxurious ingredients abundantly used in the dishes. Even the entertainment included a professional magician. I had attended many weddings before, but I had never experienced one as lavish and clearly expensive as this. I had not anticipated experiencing this at my son's wedding. This is too much. Disturbed and anxious about the wedding's extravagance, I thought I must talk to Sean. With that in mind, I headed to the bridal couple's room. There, I saw my brother-in-law Kevin and Lisa. Lisa was humbly and politely responding to the blessings from him. Thank you very much. please continue to support Sean. I will do my best to support him too. I'm counting on you too. Sean has my expectations. Yes, I'll do my best. Lisa said this and responded politely. Even after finishing speaking, her smile remained, but as soon as she saw me, her expression turned into one of disdain. Feeling a bad premonition, I rushed to Lisa and asked about the situation. Lisa, it's been a while. You told me not to interfere too much, so I've been silent until now. But isn't this spending way too much? One dress change is enough. The wedding should be more modest. Despite my fluster, she looked calm and unapologetic as she responded. What can I say? It's already decided. It's troubling to hear this now. I was speechless, and Lisa looked at me with the same provocative eyes as when we first met. Are you trying to ruin our wedding? I didn't mean to. I just want to say that you're spending too much money. I understand that you are poor, but Sean is going to be the next president, right? We don't need to worry about money. Even if he is going to be the next president, this is too much. That's not true. When I asked him, don't you want to see your mother happy? Sean would listen to anything I said. What? Sean loves you, doesn't he? When I said it was for you, he generously provided the money. The words hit me like a knife. I suddenly looked at the face of the bride, and she was smirking at me. You exploited the feelings of my son who cared about me. Anger was bubbling up inside me. To this, the bride responded with shocking words. So what? If you're going to complain anymore, can you please leave? We don't need a low-educated poor mother. Please don't involve yourself with us ever again. Her words, steeped in a sense of superiority, rapidly amplified my anger. I would never forgive this. The time she could feel victorious was only temporary. Glaring at the back of Lisa, who was walking away, still looking down on me, I made a firm resolution and attended the reception. Now, please welcome Megan, the groom's mother. After being invited to the microphone by the host, I prepared to give my speech. I had discussed the speech with Sean beforehand, but it seemed he had kept it a secret from Lisa. The course of events was different from what Lisa had planned, and there I was. Still not having left after being told to go, now about to give a speech. Though silent, she was clearly emitting a displeased aura. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. Sean and I have supported each other all our lives. As I began my speech, I shared my feelings for my son. After recounting some old episodes, I continued. However, it seems that today I must let go of my son. Therefore, I am firing him. What? A murmur ran through the venue. My brother-in-law Kevin was also surprised. And the company's attendees showed confused expressions. The murmur in the room did not subside. The first to speak up was Lisa. Fired. What are you talking about? You're not even part of the company, so you can't make him quit. Even if you are his mother, that's not acceptable. What are you talking about? I said I'm firing Sean. You told me, we don't need a low-educated poor mother, so never involve yourself again. That's. Besides, it seems you're only after my son's money. I can't trust a son who would choose someone like you. That's why he's fired. The murmurs in the venue grew louder. Lisa's face turned red with embarrassment as her harsh words toward me were exposed. Sean was glaring sharply at her. What do you mean, we don't need a low-educated poor mother? Did you say that to Mom? And about being after the money. It doesn't matter, right? We're going to live our lives together from now on. So we don't need a mother who has no education or money. Besides, even if she said that, there's no way she can actually fire you. Mom is the chairperson of my company. What? Lisa's face, which had been red, quickly turned pale upon hearing my son's words. She asked, obviously flustered. But, you said she's a junior high graduate. A person like that being a chairperson. There's no such thing. That's the case. The company was founded by my father. Mom has been involved since the very beginning. Now, she understands the company more than anyone and holds the actual management rights. Why didn't you tell me such an important thing earlier? If you had told me sooner, this wouldn't have happened. Instead of apologizing, Lisa started blaming my son. But Sean looked at her with disdain. I was going to tell you the details of the company gradually. But now, that's unnecessary. Since the marriage is off, there's no need to tell you anymore. What do you mean? The marriage is off. Isn't it obvious? I can't marry someone who looks down on my mother and is only after money. The wedding is off. Sean's voice carried an undeniable authority. Lisa, realizing this was serious, suddenly tried to appeal to me. Megan. I didn't know you were the chairperson and I was terribly rude. I won't look down on you, who is the chairperson, anymore. Please forgive me. Lisa said this, apologizing, but of course, I had no intention of forgiving her. That's impossible. Because if I weren't the chairperson, you would still look down on me, right? I cannot be family with someone who cannot respect others and loves to waste money. Goodbye. With that, I started to leave the venue. Following me, Kevin stood up, and other attendees began to prepare to leave as well. Wait, please. Don't go, everyone. Lisa cried out, but no one even gave her a sympathetic look. Rather, my relatives said, it's good that Sean didn't marry such a person. And Lisa's relatives looked utterly dismayed. Lisa's friends also began preparing to leave quickly, complaining. She looked down on us, saying she was going to be the wife of the president. Everyone left Lisa stunned. Sean and I returned the gifts we had received and apologized to the departing guests. After everyone had left, my son muttered apologetically. Mom, I'm sorry. I wanted to reassure you, but instead, it ended up like this. Now we can't even work together anymore. That's why I told you not to worry about me. Also, about that matter, it's already settled. What? I said I couldn't trust a son who chooses a partner for their money, so I was going to fire you. But now that the marriage with Lisa is off, I'm not firing you. Sean looked relieved at my words. Thank you, Mom. I'll work even harder from now on. Your happiness is what matters most to me. I patted Sean on the back. Afterward, the engagement with Lisa was officially cancelled, and the cost of the ceremony was split. However, Lisa had planned to have Sean pay for the entire wedding and keep the gifts from her guests for herself. Unable to pay her credit card bills for the beauty treatments and other expenses, she ended up in debt. Lisa had already quit her job in anticipation of marriage and had no money. She quickly tried to marry again for money, but her new partner turned out to be a marriage scammer. She ended up even more in debt, and now no one knows where she is or what she's doing. On the other hand, our bond as mother and son strengthened even more after this incident. Sean seems to respect me even more now and is eager to become independent and reassure me. Not through marriage, but on his own. Thanks to his dedication to his work, the company has continued to grow. And just the other day, the president of a longtime business partner introduced his daughter to us. I have also worked with his daughter on several occasions. Sean seems quite interested in this new opportunity. My son has grown into a fine man, and it looks like a new spring is coming for him, which makes my heart leap with joy.
My name is Ashley, and I am a 32-year-old part-time housewife. Initially, I worked in customer service, but due to the impact of a new virus, I was targeted for staff reductions, and since then, I started working from home. I've always preferred working alone on tasks over customer service or public appearances, and enjoyed making accessories and stuffed animals by hand. However, these were just hobbies, and I had never considered showing or selling them to others. However, after a friend posted my creations on social media, a shop owner noticed them and started stocking my products. Eventually, through word of mouth, sales increased to the point where I could make a living. Unlike when these were just hobbies, there are challenges like accommodating customer requests and dealing with tight deadlines, but I find it much more fulfilling than the jobs I was not suited for. However, I am currently facing some family issues. It involves my husband John and my mother-in-law. John, who was an office worker, quit his job suddenly one day after my home business took off, without consulting me. Understandably, I asked him why he hadn't discussed it with me, to which he seriously replied,
"Seeing you do what you love and shining made me envious. I want to live a life without regrets. It might be an inconvenience for a while, but I hope you understand."
And pleaded. Faced with such words, I felt it was unfair to blame him alone. Indeed, when I was fired from my previous job and had no income, John, though grumbling, supported us financially. Now that my income is sufficient, we can manage even with John unemployed. Thinking it over, I told him, "Okay, take your time to find a job you're satisfied with," and encouraged him. After that, John started doing household chores, which he never did before. Thanks to this, my work progressed smoothly and I started receiving more orders, gradually increasing our income. Months passed, and a life where I worked from my room and John was a full-time homemaker became the norm, and I felt no discomfort or dissatisfaction. However, there is someone who cannot accept our situation. It was my mother-in-law. She believes that men should work outside and support the family, and women should support their husbands and take care of the home. While there's nothing wrong with that belief per se, she imposes it on us. Moreover, perhaps due to her generation, she doesn't understand the concept of remote work, and despite my explanations, she would say, "How is that different from being unemployed? It's just like playing at home. Quit that and take care of the household properly and have children." She didn't listen. Even explaining that we couldn't live without my income didn't change her view. She would only blame me, saying, "John was always smart and capable. He should find a better job soon. It's your duty as a wife to help him do that instead of keeping him locked up at home with a job like playing." Dealing with such remarks during unexpected visits and phone calls was wearing me down. Even when I spoke to John about it, he would only say,
"She's from an older generation. Try to manage until I find a job,"
and never intervened. Although I have no complaints about our current life, the stress from my mother-in-law was building up and I feared it might explode one day. I wanted to resolve this before that happened. I started to feel anxious about the future. What is John thinking? Looking at him now, it doesn't seem like he's job hunting, and I wonder if this will continue forever. But if I rush him to find a job, might it break his pride and lead to a fight? I couldn't say anything, feeling guilty about my income and leaving the household chores to him. Then one day, John came to me and said he had found the job he wanted to do for the rest of his life.
"I've finally found the job I want to do forever."
John's eyes sparkled, a sight I hadn't seen in a long time, making me happy too, and I asked him what kind of job it was. He replied,
"A web writer."
In a surprising response, and me, floated. "A writer? Is it really that easy to become one?" John had been a salesman before, and I had never heard him mention being good at writing. I had heard on TV that it was a popular job among housewives lately, but unless one is a true professional, it takes a considerable time to make a living from it.
It's okay. It seems tough at first, but once the projects increase, I'll start earning quickly. It's cool, right? Working from home as a writer just like you.
Despite my concerns, John was enthusiastic about his new job. Did you choose that job just because it's cool? John looked annoyed.
What's wrong with that? That's how you started too, because you liked it.
That's true, but in contrast to my husband who was full of motivation, I felt uneasy looking at his expression. What kind of writing are you going to do?
Well, a bit of everything at first.
His vague answer only increased my worries.
Oh, don't worry so much. I'll catch up to your income soon.
He grinned, giving a thumbs up. Though I was inwardly dismayed, saying anything might provoke a response like,
Why are you acting so high and mighty?
So I remained silent. Although I was anxious, there was some truth to John's words. It might stabilize after some initial difficulties. I also started that way, so I shouldn't negate the job John had chosen. Perhaps John has a talent for this field that might truly flourish. Maybe one day he will write articles about my products. It might not be just a dream after all. With these hopeful thoughts amidst my worries, I decided to watch over John. But this decision turned out to be a big mistake. John, who started without any prior knowledge or research, struggled even with short writing tasks. He sat in front of the computer all day, constantly irritable. Naturally, he didn't do any housework at all. He just sat there incessantly scratching his head in frustration. Whenever I said anything, it would trigger him to lash out, and I found myself constantly watching his mood even during casual conversations. This situation forced me to take on all the household chores myself and inevitably interrupt my own work. Despite this, I tried to stay optimistic, telling myself that the beginning is always the hardest and that eventually he would settle into his new role and things would improve. So I refrained from voicing my complaints to him. Months passed, and although John's income initially was just a few $10, it gradually began to rise. However, it still wasn't enough to live on, but since he was making an effort, I praised him and did my best to encourage him. However, around that time, John's behavior started to change. He began frequently using industry jargon like,
About that project.
Or,
That client, you know?
It was as if he was pretending to be a seasoned writer, often making condescending remarks. Still, I thought it was just a phase, where he was getting a bit carried away. So I internally rolled my eyes but let him be. This would have been endearing in itself, but it led to a grand misunderstanding by my mother-in-law, and her mistreatment of me escalated.
See? John is so capable. He's able to achieve results in such a short period,
she told me triumphantly. Indeed, he had started working, but it wasn't something to brag about like that. Yet, the next thing she said made me frown.
While you're feeling good about doing nothing better than unemployed, John has quickly surpassed your income. You should quit your job now and start having children.
What? John surpassed my income? I was speechless, trying to comprehend her words, when she added,
You can't even utter a word back. You should be grateful to have a husband like John who is so capable. Really, you have no spirit as a wife.
I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you mean. Has John's income surpassed mine? Did he say that?
Yes, he's been crying about how hard the housework has been. If you can't appreciate John, then give him back to me.
Realizing what was going on, I thought it was better to talk to John than to argue back, so I gently ushered my mother-in-law out and waited for John to return. In the evening, after John returned from doing an interview for a cafe article, I brought up what my mother-in-law had said. What have you been telling your mother? She seems to have the wrong idea. Seeing this, John looked evasive.
Maybe I communicated it badly?
At that moment, I was certain John was lying. You don't have to tell the whole truth, but it's honestly hard when I'm made out to be completely at fault. Your mother has never thought well of me. I need you to clear up this misunderstanding. John suddenly flared up, thinking he was being attacked.
Be quiet. A man has his pride. Can't you just play along with a lie a little?
Sorry. I was startled by his loud voice and ended up apologizing. But then John said,
I feel sick,
and left. When did John change like this? He wasn't such a troublesome person before. He had his childish moments, but he wasn't someone who threw tantrums like this. Could it be my fault? Was he upset that I let him do all the housework? Did my good income hurt him? But I can't just quit my job easily and the situation won't change immediately. What should I do? I couldn't sleep at all, and John didn't come home that night. The next morning, I heard the front door open and thought it was John, but it was my mother-in-law instead.
Oh, have you been crying? Haven't slept?
You look awful. Seeing my face, she laughed through her nose.
Where's John?
I had assumed John was with her last night, so I was at a loss for words.
Can't you even respond properly?
As she plopped down on the sofa, John came back.
Mom, what are you doing here so early?
John looked startled to see her.
I thought you wouldn't be getting proper meals, so I came to make breakfast. I brought lots of side dishes, too,
she said, pulling out a bunch of containers from a paper bag.
By the way, John, where have you been so early in the morning?
John, looking a bit flustered, said,
Just a walk,
and looked at me for agreement. His evasiveness made my heart sink. Without my response, John exaggerated his joy at the gifts from his mother.
Honestly, a wife should wake up earlier than her husband and prepare breakfast. Sitting there with your puffy face in your pajamas, you make John look pitiful.
As she glanced sideways at me, she openly made snide remarks. Then John said,
That's right, tell her, Mom.
It was always just calming words from John when my mother-in-law wasn't around. But now, right in front of me, John joined her in attacking me, with an innocence I had never seen.
Calling that a job is not even on the same level as a man's work. You just don't get it.
Right? I should have opposed the marriage.
Mom, this is delicious. You're the best.
He loudly complimented the food, showing off while he ate, and my mother-in-law lounged on the sofa as if it were her own home. It was then that I truly felt miserable.
Hey, at least make some coffee. You're so inconsiderate.
At that moment, something inside me snapped. I grabbed my mother-in-law's arm and forcefully pushed her outside, locking the door and chaining it. She started yelling from outside.
Hey, what are you doing?
I stood in front of John, blocking the door. What was that all about? Both of you ganging up to harass me? What are you thinking? And where were you last night, John?
Be quiet. Just open the door.
No, I'm talking to you. I won't move until you answer me.
Be quiet.
Despite my resistance, John pushed me aside and opened the door.
What's wrong with you? A terrible woman. A demon wife.
Apologize to my mom.
Even as they both yelled at me, I clenched my mouth shut and did not speak.
Seriously, stop messing around and reflect on yourself.
After saying that, John left with his mother. As John passed by me, I faintly smelled soap. It's no use. As soon as I voiced it out, tears began to flow uncontrollably. It wasn't that John had changed. He had always been that person, and I just hadn't seen it. The good income I had was merely revealing his true nature. As for where John was last night, never underestimate a woman's intuition. I could guess what was going on. I didn't want to know, but maybe it was necessary to confront it. I wanted to lie down for a bit, but work was piling up. I washed away my tears with cool water and headed to my workshop. The next day, John and his mother appeared in front of me with nonchalant expressions. Then,
have you reflected? Well, it doesn't matter. Last night, John and I decided I'm going to live here from today and stay with you.
What?
That means we're living together. It's for John's sake because it's pitiful like this. I should be here to supervise you, right? Right, John?
Yeah, you should learn from my mom. Like how to be a good wife.
They both looked at me, but continued the conversation as if I wasn't there. Are you saying you're moving in here?
That's what I'm saying, aren't I? You really do lack understanding. Look, you've been getting too comfortable with your measly $500 a month while using John like a servant, right? You can stay here because John's monthly income is $10,000. You should be grateful for that.
Looking at John's face, I could tell he was aware he was lying, as he wouldn't meet my eyes. But feeling supported, he smirked beside his mother. Seeing that, I knew I could no longer stay with him. I understand. I'll divorce John. Please live happily with John, who earns $500 a month. As I said that, my mother-in-law started laughing at me.
What? Are you making excuses for losing? Oh, please, if you want a divorce, be my guest. I couldn't ask for more. Please leave.
John's eyes began to dart around, which my mother-in-law didn't notice. Understood. John, I will contact you later regarding the procedures. I said that and packed only a few clothes and necessary work tools into my suitcase. I will contact you later.
Wait.
John hurried after me, but as his mother clung to his arm saying, John, there's no need to stop her, I quickly left the house. It didn't take long for my mother-in-law to realize all the facts. I promptly arranged for a lawyer and a moving company and canceled the apartment lease. As movers began taking things out early in the morning, the frantic calls from John and his mother started coming in.
What is this? What are you doing?
She shrieked over the phone, but I remained calm. Didn't you say to go ahead with the divorce? I'm just taking my things. The apartment is already canceled, so please move out by the end of the month.
What? Why?
Why? Because the apartment was leased under my name. I paid the initial costs, and I've been paying the rent. I'll leave the furniture and appliances we bought when we first got married. The phone was handed to John.
Hey, you can't just do whatever you want. I supported you when you were unemployed.
That's true, but it was only for a few months, wasn't it? I supported you financially much more than that. I even turned a blind eye when you used my card for expenses and such.
But this is sudden. It's tyrannical. Pay me compensation.
Yes, pay us compensation.
John was ranting beside his mother, but thanks to the mental rehearsals I had done over the past few days, I responded smoothly. Compensation? You thought I hadn't noticed? I was aware of your affair. I have evidence. After my words, there was a moment of silence from John, and then my mother-in-law took over the phone.
You, blaming your lack of charm as a woman. An affair is just a man being a man. That's no grounds for compensation. It's no excuse for divorce.
Mother-in-law, do you remember you've constantly berated my work tools as mere toys and broke them? Not just once or twice, remember? I have photos of the broken tools, receipts from when I purchased them, and emails detailing the delays caused by your actions, all submitted to my lawyer. Are you still calling that an excuse? Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law shrieked.
Show your face. Come here right now.
You'll hear from my lawyer soon, and we can discuss everything then. I look forward to it. I hung up after that. When the meeting eventually took place, the two who had been so bold in cursing me had lost all their bluster. John seemed to finally understand the situation he was in. Likewise, his mother, after realizing the reality of her capable son, kept her head down. As the lawyer methodically stated the facts of John's affair and the conditions for the divorce, John suddenly burst into tears at the table.
Forgive me. I was just jealous. You're more than me and you do what you love for a living. I couldn't tell my mom and I took advantage of your kindness. I just wanted to show off a little.
Exactly. John did nothing wrong. You understand, right? Men have their pride. Please reconsider the divorce. While John's mother dramatically cried into her handkerchief, it was clear she was just trying to garner sympathy. I knew all about how John had been splurging with my credit card, how he had tried to buy a luxury car under my name but couldn't because he wasn't present at the signing, and how he had bought luxury goods and jewelry for his affair partner. After all that, hearing about a man's pride almost made me laugh. Mother-in-law, you said that because I lack charm as a woman, it's understandable that John would cheat on me, right? You even said that divorce was what I wanted. What are you trying to stop the divorce from a charmless, incompetent wife like me? Did I say that? Maybe it was just a slip of the tongue. I don't remember. She stumbled over her words, avoiding eye contact with me. It's about money, isn't it? You're panicking because if John and I divorce, you'll have trouble getting by. You know the allowance you've been getting comes from my income, right? You just don't want to lose that, do you? I just wanted you to come back. It's too late for such meek excuses. I can't forget what you've said and done to me and go back to supporting you and your son's lives like before. An apology from you and John isn't enough for me to forgive everything. For the first time in the conversation, my mother-in-law looked up and made eye contact with me. As I stared back at her directly, she grimaced with frustration and looked down again.
Come on, think it over. I'll find a real job, okay? Isn't that enough? You're busy with work too, so isn't it better for us to be together for safety?
As John looked up at me pleadingly, I realized I felt nothing for him anymore. We're past that stage. I'm honestly very disappointed, but I can't live with you anymore. I do have many things to reflect on myself, but from now on, please live happily with your beloved mother. I'm truly hoping for that now.
This can't be happening.
As I glanced at my mother-in-law, she was glaring at me over her handkerchief, looking demonic. Mother-in-law, you must be pleased. Not only did you manage to drive out a daughter-in-law you disliked, but your beloved son has returned to you. Truly, your wishes have come true. I hope you find a daughter-in-law who suits your desires one day. I wish you happiness with your son, who pretends to be an industry insider on an income of $500 a month. Now you can cook delicious meals for him every day. You must be very happy. As I said this with a smile, I thought I heard her mutter, "This demon!" But I pretended not to hear and continued with the proceedings. Thus, my divorce from John was finalized smoothly. My ex-husband ended up selling the furniture and appliances I left behind and moved back in with his mother. Due to the lack of income, their relationship became strained, leading to a tense living situation. I hope he seriously commits to his work and makes a living. Now that he's a stranger, I only wish he gets serious when pushed into a corner. Thanks to shedding this great burden, my work flourished even more. Recently, I've received more orders from various places, and I've even been able to hire an assistant and start a company. However, when our company's website and social media managed by my staff began receiving derogatory comments about my products and me, it became a small scandal. It quickly became apparent that the source of all these messages was my former mother-in-law. I considered suing her after consulting a lawyer, but decided just to issue a warning, considering the mental toll of further involvement with her. I hope that's the end of it, but if something like this happens again, I won't hold back. My former mother-in-law probably blames me for the situation she's in. The thought sends shivers down my spine, but she's no longer my concern. Now I am spending my days fulfilled alongside my colleagues.